So I've had a few requests about this Kevin McCall situation with Breezy. And I'm going to let Tammy Latrell kind of break this down a little bit. It's kind of long, so just, watch the whole thing, and then I'll see you guys as soon as it gets done.
So I started to post the Kevin McCall video right before this stitch, but obviously it's never okay to exploit someone having an emotional meltdown, especially a Black man, especially considering the times they were in right now. It just wasn't cool. I don't condone it. I thought it was really distasteful. And y'all have to be careful about going on these platforms and airing out things that you're going through without, controlling your emotions or knowing how to control your emotions, because you will get exploited. And the problem is still going to be there. Now, as it pertains to royalties, because that's what I do. My name's Tammy Latrell. I am a music publishing administrator, and I represent hundreds of writers all over the world to help collect their royalties that are unclaimed. It looks like Kevin still may be locked into a publishing deal and not getting paid his royalties. Now, what does that mean? It could mean that he is still in a co-pub deal with Universal Music Publishing Group, and maybe they have advanced him a large sum of money in the past, and that advance is still recouping on the royalties that are coming in now years later. It does happen. Quiet as it's kept, I was signed to a music publishing deal, a major music publishing deal. I signed the deal in 2002, 2003. I didn't recoup that deal till 2019, okay? Because of the MDRC requirements and so forth, you can be locked into a co-publishing deal for a very long time, which is why so many people are running for the hills when you say a co-pub deal, and a lot of people are signing admin deals. So there are so many things that could be going on with his case. I was able to look at the splits, but it looks like this is clearly something that has to do with money being owed. Otherwise, when you have finished recouping, the money comes back to you, directly to you, minus, their admin fee, if they charge an admin fee within, within the stipulations of your deal. So this is a conversation that Kevin needs to be having with an attorney. He needs to be having with the admin like myself, or he needs to be having with a manager who understands the recoupment of publishing deals. This is not something where he needs to be going online, because I guarantee you the people he was sitting there talking to about this on this podcast have no clue on what's going on behind the scenes and cannot do anything about it. Another thing I thought about too is that he possibly could have sold off his catalog. And, while I don't ever recommend that, sometimes people have to do what they have to do as a means of survival, okay? And we are in no way, ever talking down on somebody else feeling like this is what they need to do for their catalog. I don't recommend it. There's so many other ways to be able to leverage your catalog without selling your rights fully. And there's just so many opportunities out there these days where you could, still be able to retain your rights, but be able to get a little cash, to be able to survive or to just kind of make it through, keep yourself afloat. There also could be a situation where it's just a lack of communication. He moved, didn't contact the publisher. Royalties are recouped, but the advance is recouped, but there's nowhere to send the money because the direct deposit doesn't work and they haven't been able to get in touch with him. Maybe his account closed down. So it's just so many things. But that's why it's so important to have people around you that you can talk to that, understand music rights administration, that will go to bat for you and find out what's going on with your money. Now, I don't know the situation again, but I know that the whole idea of selling off your catalog or losing your rights could be detrimental in the long run, when publishing is supposed to take care of not only you, but also your children and your children's children. Instead of us laughing and trolling at this situation, let this be a lesson that it is so vitally important for you guys to mind the business that pays you. That is my favorite quote. I don't know who came up with it, but I always say it because it is so true. Out of all the creativity that you do, there's a whole business engine that runs behind the scenes that nobody talks about. It's not the sexiest part. Okay, it's not glitz and glammy, but guess what? It gets you paid and it allows you to be able to take care of yourself and take care of your family. So let this be a reminder that we have to do better when it comes down to managing our rights or hiring a team of people who can do that for us if we don't have, the wherewithal to do it. My company is a full service music administration company. We've been helping songwriters and producers over the last 7 years be able to collect unclaimed money that they didn't even know they had. And so I just want to encourage you guys to use this as a way to, say, I got to do better. And I got to hire a team that's going to help manage my royalties because I don't have time. I'm always on the road. I'm always on the go. I get it. But as long as you have a team that's handling all of that stuff behind the scenes, I'm telling you, it will help you sleep better at night, knowing that all the songs that you've been in the studio late night writing, all the songs you've been producing is not, going in vain. You're actually getting paid for it, especially if it's doing well on the charts, especially if it's streaming well, it's being played on the radio. That's additional revenue, additional money on the publishing side that you could have. And so, like I said, we don't know his case, but let this be a lesson that we learn from, okay? So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. Also, follow the Mezzo Agency across social media. We'll be happy to help. If you have any questions, you can always email us at info@mezzoagency.com. Peace.
All right, so that's a lot right there that she said, and she gave a lot of great information. Tammy Latrell, I met years ago when she was writing songs, and one thing I can say about her is she is highly respected in what she does in collecting, publishing, and she does admin, publishing, stuff like that. So very highly educated in it, and she knows what she's talking about in this situation. And I like the angle that she went in this situation because it's not the angle that a lot of people are trying to go, and it's not the angle that a lot of people are trying to hear from other people. They're trying to hear the mess in the situation. And to be honest with you, I don't know the situation at hand because I don't know either one of these people. And, a lot of people had hit me up since this story came out, but this is something that's been going on for years. And what I say about a story like that between Chris and Kevin McCall is three sides to a story. There's one person's side, there's another person's side, and there's the truth. And if you don't know both sides of the story, you would never really know the truth in that situation. Now, how she put it is, it could possibly be a publishing thing, and I've seen people get into these co-pub situations, and they are stuck in these co-pub situations for a very, very long time because of the requirements of these co-pub situations. That's why I recommend anybody who is writing songs, producing, or just an artist, period, to just do an admin deal. The admin deal, all they're doing is collecting, and they're getting a piece of your money for collecting and sometimes negotiating certain things, like if you want to be on a TV show, if your song wants to be in sync or something like that, they take care of that for you. And a lot of times all they do is, hey, we got this right here. We reviewed it. Here's the terms. Do you agree on the terms? Yes. Okay, cool. Then if something else comes by, same thing. Yes, I agree on it. Then they get their money. Right now, most of the places right now are doing it for like 15% of your money, which is actually cool. It used to be a lot cheaper back in the day, sometimes like 3 to 5%. But now dealing with streaming and everything else, they're using their lawyers to go over the contracts. They're using their resources. So 15% to me is pretty fair. It's pretty fair. I'm signed to Warner Chappell right now. They take care of all of my agreements and everything that comes through, and they just shoot me an email whenever something comes through, and I just say, hey, I approve or I don't approve. But the situation at hand could be a publishing situation. It could be a situation where he mismanaged his money. It could be a situation where they fell out and something may have happened. But this is what I will say. The video that I seen with Breezy that he put out, a lot of people are taking the video at face value and they're saying, oh man, Breezy took his money and he's using his money to pay for this. It's kind of like a troll video, what he did. And basically what I took from the video is Breezy's basically saying, if you wrote all of these hits that I did and these hits made so much money, then pretty much you bought me this car, you bought me this house, you bought me this, you bought me that. I didn't take it in the sense of Chris took his money and he used his money to buy the cars and buy everything, because in order for Chris to have all of those cars at that time, now you got to think that was an older video that he put out. In order for him to have all those cars, all that stuff at his time, that was a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And a couple songs won't get you that. So basically what he was saying is that there were more songs that were made and other people involved, and other producers, writers, engineers, all that stuff that made that money. So basically, it was like a troll video, basically saying that you think that you made me in a sense. Well, let me show you that I don't necessarily even need you in a sense like that. But people who don't understand the music business will take that video and take it for face value. Like, oh man, he took his money, pay that man his money, this whatever. No, it does not work like that. Okay, when you write a song, you have a thing called a statutory rate. I call it something different, statutory, but it's a statutory rate that is now more than what it used to be, because at the time, the statutory rate for years was only 9.1%. And so that is pretty much what you make on a song so far as like, your mechanicals and stuff like that off of a song. So if you pretty much, and don't quote me on this, and if I say this wrong, y'all correct me, but pretty much if you go platinum right now, if your song is platinum and you wrote the song and somebody produced it, and say, for instance, you got 50% of that song. If you go platinum right now, that song goes platinum, that statutory rate that you get paid is only going to be around about 45 to 50,000. It's a few variables. That's it. That's it. Okay? That's getting paid from that statutory rate. Now, if you did the whole song, you get around about, maybe 85 to about 100 grand right now, because the statutory rate has actually went up, and I think you get paid more. I think it went up to like 12% or 13%. But I'm just saying roundabout because, these numbers is a little bit different so far as like streaming and everything. So these numbers can be a few thousand more, a few thousand less. There's a lot of variables with it. But yeah, that's pretty much what you make. Back in the day, it was 91,000. And all the writers and the producers, because producers are writers of the song, all the people that was involved in that record, that's what they got. They had to split that. And then the artist would get a piece of the actual master. So if the artist was in a deal, most artists had deals that was, only paying them 15% of the master. So the artist would make that. And then if they had a piece of the publisher, they'll get some of that statutory rate money. But if you were just a writer or whatever, you had to wait till everything recouped, and then you got the statutory rate for the mechanicals and everything like that. So it takes a lot for writers and producers to make money on that side. That's why I say when you are in these type of situations, radio, if you have a huge radio hit, that radio money is far more better than getting paid from the label, and sync money and stuff like that through publishing. But if you take the wrong publishing deal, like a co-pub deal, which pretty much takes 50%, and then a lot of these companies will say, hey, you take this co-pub deal, we're going to put you in a studio with this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. We're going to be very active with you and all this stuff like that. But you got to turn in X amount of songs, and they have to be 100%. So basically what it means is, if they're telling you in your deal that you have to, do 8 songs at 100%, that can easily be, if you're a producer, and say, for instance, you do all of the songs at 50%, then that means that you're going to have to do 16 songs at 15%. At 50%, I'm sorry. 16 songs at 50% to basically make up those 8 songs at 100%. If you guys kind of get my drift in that. So if they saying you got to complete 8 full songs at 100% or 8 songs at 100%, and you only got, 15% on this song, 10% on this song, 40% on this song, 50% on this song, you'll be trapped in that deal forever because everything has not been recouped. And then if you get an advance on top of that, you have to, your advance has to recoup too. Then you have to fulfill your requirements in that co-pub situation. If you guys don't understand it, you can look it up online. A lot of places will, a lot of sites will kind of explain it to you a little bit better. I'm just kind of going through it right now. And if any one of you guys want to say anything in the comments on and kind of break that down a little bit more, please do. Because I know sometimes I get to rambling, I get to talking, I might say something that's not right, but I want to make sure that, you guys understand that this music industry is definitely a business. And if you don't have the right people in your corner, you could have situations like this. And I feel sorry for the man I've seen the videos of him going through a meltdown before with Kevin McCall when he broke the plaques and stuff like that. And I feel for him because I know there's a lot of people that go through that just don't publicly put it out. And for him to even talk about it publicly and for him to show his emotions like that publicly is kind of triggering to me, because I went through that type of a situation before where I didn't get paid for certain songs. People left me off certain things. I didn't go to that extent, but I can feel where the young man is coming from. And he's basically pleading, saying, hey, y'all help me. He's basically pleading for people to help him. And instead of people talking about him, instead of people making jokes about it, you got to understand, imagine how you would feel if you were making $100,000 a year for, 20 years of your life. You're taking care of your family, your kids, and then the job just says, oh, you're out of here. And now you have to start all the way over. And then you go through years and years and years of trying to grind to get back up. That takes a toll on you mentally. And a lot of musicians go through this all the time from day one. It's a mental grind when you're doing music, and especially how the music business is made for the house to win. Okay, it's made for the big companies to win, and it's made for the big artists to win. Because if you're a huge artist, you get to tour, you get to do all this other stuff that makes way more money than the albums and the singles and everything else. So while these people are performing the songs every single night, making hundreds of thousands, some even millions of dollars a night at these huge tours, you're only getting scraps from like performance royalties and stuff like that, and maybe some royalties from stuff on the radio, and you don't even get to see a piece of the big chunk of money that people are making while they're on tour like that. You have to go and register it with like ASCAP or something, and then maybe get a few bucks off the performance or something like that. So, I wish there was a way where, if these artists are making $1 million a night at these huge concerts, just go ahead and drop the writers of the songs like 10 bands or something. If you're performing these songs, what would 25% of your revenue hurt? So if you're making $1 million or $2 million a night, take 25% of the revenue and pay all the writers and producers that was on those projects that every single night. And I guarantee you a lot of people won't be mad. I don't think anybody would be mad saying, okay, hey, somebody's on tour, you're going to get paid basically $3,000 to $4,000 every single night this person is on tour. Imagine that. And imagine if they're on tour and they're doing, let's say 3 shows a week while they're on this tour, at least, or 2 shows a week while they're on this tour. That's $8,000 a week that these artists can be getting. But it doesn't work like that. Not the artists, but the writers and the producers and everybody else. That's what everybody could make. But in a perfect world, that's what it could be. I know people are advocating for that because a lot of these artists are going out here and they're performing these songs, getting paid sometimes, 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000, $500,000 a night. And the people who produced the record, sometimes wrote the record, don't get anything at all. They can sign up through ASCAP or something like that, or BMI, and claim the performance, and then they might get a few dollars, like literally a few dollars, enough to buy like dinner off the show. That's pretty much it. So I feel for the young man. I feel for this situation because they did make some great music together. And he was around right when everybody was trying to chastise Chris and stuff like that. And he came, with a lot of good records during that time. But I really see it as a cry for help. And I've seen other writers and producers do the same thing on a lower level. But for the world to see is kind of sad. And I hope that that somebody with some type of power, like some real big power, can help this kid out and really get him back on the right path mentally. And, and I don't know what his real mental state is, but I hope that he can get to a point to where he can get his bread, make his money, and, and get back to making good music, get back to right headspace. And because I still think he has a lot in him to make some good music. So, yeah, man, it's a tough situation, but nobody really knows the facts. But at the end of the day, I hope he really gets the help that he needs mentally and business-wise.